if you have raced with men on foot and they have worn you out, how can you compete with horses? If you stumble in safe country, how will you manage in the thickets by the dawn? We have studied this last week about the book of Jeremiah, what God told Jeremiah, what was going to happen to the people of Judah. And all those things were there. And when the 12th chapter opens, we see Prophet Jeremiah is complaining to God, and the words that we have for scripture reading is the answer given by God. Righteous art thou, O Lord, when I plead with thee, yet let me talk with thee of thy judgments. So when he talks, when he makes a complaint to God, he's thinking about God's judgment, because he is a righteous God. He's thinking about that. Wherefore doth the way of the wicked prosper? So there is a doubt. Why do the wicked prosper? If you turn with me to Psalms 13th chapter, Psalms 13, we'll come across another complaint made by the psalmist, David. Is it with you? Samson, brother Samson, can you read it?
How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever?
Yeah. See, all the complaints are against God.
How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long will my enemy be exalted over me?
How many of us have made complaints to God? Only one, two. 4 people made complaints to the Lord. Only 4. From this congregation only, 4 people complained about it. Just now we heard a story, not to tell lies. So how many of you are telling lies on the basis of this? Only Johnny raised his hand. We must be very careful, because we are sitting in front of a righteous God. Remember that always. We are in the presence of a righteous God, and He has got judgments with Him. So we must be very careful. So people are in the habit of making complaints to God. When anything mishap, untoward things happen in their lives, they will immediately complain to God. And sometimes, not sometimes, many a time, people question God. They say, why did you create us? Why we are struggling? Why we are having all these problems in life? People are making complaints and trying to question God. This is what the prophet did. And also the psalmist did. He said, how long wilt thou forget me? This is the complaint made to God by some of us. Not all of us, but some of us. And how long wilt thou hide thy face from me? This is the complaint that we make to God. On the basis of this verse, if you have raced with men on foot, and they have worn you out, this reminds us of our life, that we are engaged in a race. Am I right? We are engaged in a race. And in this race, the word says that you have raced with men, but here it's a footman. Footman means the infantry, right? The infantry in the soldier system, or in the army system, we come across infantry and cavalry and artillery and so on. Recently I heard about a particular country trained bears, trained them in order to fight the enemy. Do you know the country's name? Poland. I don't know, some other names will, the countries will be there, but I just recently came to know about that. They are trained for that. So in a war field, you can expect infantry and cavalry and artillery, and now so many are there. Like modern technologies are fast developing, and you can see it in the paper and the TV news about the sophisticated weapons in the warfare. So, I don't want to explain to you about the political situation of the people during the time of Jeremiah. We know and we have studied that last week, didn't we? Yes. So, I am going to compare our Christian life with a race. With a race. Have you heard about the marathon race? People run and they become tired too much, and finally what will happen? Somebody has to go and give them some drinks, water or some other drinking juice or something, some glucose, and they will take that from us, and they will not be stopping, but they will be limping like this and running without any stop. Finally, when they come to the finishing point, they are so exhausted, they become tired. Our life also can be compared to this kind of marathon in Christian experience. What is it? Marathon in Christian experience. We become exhausted, tired. So, God is reminding the prophet Jeremiah that if you are going to be weary with these small trials in your life, how will you compete with the horsemen? Do you understand that? Horsemen. The density or the frequency of the trials and the difficulties and struggling are more. That is why God is trying to teach Jeremiah, if you compete with horsemen, when more troubles come than what you are facing now in Anadolu, what will be your spiritual condition? Of course, God was giving Jeremiah about the political situation of the country, because they have turned away from God. God wanted to destroy that land. But before that, God won't do anything all on a sudden. He gives what? What does He give? Oh, my children are very lazy. Gives warning. God doesn't do anything without giving us warning. Remember that. If you don't know that, make it a point that it retains in your memory. God gives warnings. Throughout, it started in heaven. God said a warning. What was that warning? Thou shalt surely die if you eat this fruit. Did God say? Did God say? The first warning was, thou shalt surely die if you eat the fruit of the tree. So we must be very careful. God has been giving warnings, and God is giving warning. And what did God's people do? They ignored God. They betrayed God. In front of other heathen people, they betrayed God by offering and showing incense in front of the man-made gods. We studied it today also. Ammon, Manasseh, all these people, what did they do? They carved the images and asked the people to worship those things. So God's anger was kindled, and he wanted to destroy the people. But before that, he is giving the prophet his message of warning to correct the people of Judah. So that is the political situation of that place. I want to bring to your attention about Apostle Paul. Let us turn to 2 Corinthians, 11th chapter, verses 24 through 27. You can see, as a runner, what did he face in life? Our Christian life is compared to a marathon race, right? Apostle Paul says in 2 Timothy 4, 6 and 7, I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, and I have kept the faith. He was in this marathon arena of Christian life. He was racing in the marathon of life's experiences. And you see what all did he face. Can anybody read it, please? 2 Corinthians 11, 24 to 27. Of the Jews, 5 times received 40 stripes, save one. That means how many? 39. 39 stripes he got from the Jews. Thrice was I beaten with rod. Has anyone undergone this kind of ordeal in your life? Once was I stoned. Did anyone get to stoning? A night I suffered a shipwreck. Because we are going in plane, this shipwreck is not our experience. But during those days, only they had to depend on ships. And he had been shipwrecked. A night and a day I have been in the deep, means in the sea. Nothing to be seen. Everywhere darkness. Then, in journeying often, he was not sitting in one place, always journeying. We are not doing it. We enter into the AC room and come out of the AC room after 8 hours, sitting only. Not all, some. In perils of waters. What do you mean by that, in perils of waters? The stormy atmosphere, the tempest, the strong winds, and also in perils of robbers, in perils by mine own countrymen. If you read Jeremiah 12:6, what do you read there? Your brothers, your own family, even they have betrayed you. Is it comparable to this text? What I read now?
For even your own brothers
Yeah.
and the household of your own father, even they themselves have dealt
Yes. They have raised a loud cry against you.
treacherously with you.
Yeah. Apostle Paul says, in perils by my own countrymen, my own household, you can say. We as believers have experiences like this from our own kins and blood, relatives. And even the church people, we are in the family of God, and from our family itself, there will be people who will be against us. Am I right? Definitely. There is a time coming that we will be betrayed when our life, when our faith is tested because of persecution. There will be people to betray us. Remember that. There are people waiting. We do not know them now, but this morning I was thinking, those who are in the church will be out of heaven, and those who don't see in the church will be in heaven. That will be the situation. So remember, perils by mine own countrymen, in perils by the heathen. That is, of course, we know that the heathen people will be against us. In perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren. False brethren are there. Jesus said, before my coming there will be false prophets. And falsely they will be applying the Bible principles to us. Remember that we should not be wayward. We should not be tossed by these false doctrines. When I am giving through WhatsApp some messages to the people whom I know, they are asking, they are having some kind of fixed ideas, like speaking in tongues, then the 1,000 years rule in heaven, and all these things they mix it up and bring to my attention. So when I give the answer to that from the Bible, there is no response. There is no response. So this is the way. False brethren will be there, in weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness. These can be compared to the race that we begin with the footmen. What are those things? Weariness. We become tired in life. Painful situations will occur in our lives. Then we will be washed by other people. What kind of life we are leading? What kind of dealing that we have with people? So people will be looking at us, watching us in hunger. Sometimes we may have to go hunger and thirst. During the hot days, it is very difficult in order to walk 25-30 minutes in order to get a bus. In between, if you don't carry a bottle of water, you will be exhausted. Because up to 55 it comes, 55 degrees Celsius. The heat. The searing heat, the scorching heat will trouble us. So all these things we have, but the other things which I narrated from the experience of Paul, we have not come across any of those things. Have we? No. We are not an exception. We are not an exception to all this. We might not have experienced the trials like Paul, but many a time in our Christian experiences, small problems come, small difficulties come, trials come, temptations come, we forget what? The truth of the Bible. We forget about God. So many promises are there in the Bible. What all God had said have been fulfilled and yet to be fulfilled before Jesus comes. We have to rely on God. When we look into the Jeremiah 29:11, we have studied this before. What does the verse say? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts I think towards you, says the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil. To give you what? An expected thing. We forget this. When little things come up and try to weary us, make us tired, make us exhausted in Christian life. Oh, it is enough. 57 years of Christian life at 27. Let it go. Or 5 years of, 7 years of, 10 years of, or since you were born to this, we will think that, oh, God has forgotten us. God is not taking care of us. And we complain to God. For a just man, for the one who believes in the word of God, is it this to be your lifestyle? Is this your lifestyle, to betray God, to ask questions to God and complain about God? No. He says, for I know the thoughts I think toward you. I want to give you an expected end. The Apostle Paul says in one of the epistles, for those who want to live a godly life will have to suffer persecution. So persecution is there. In the book of Job it says, we are all born to troubles and trials. An ordinary man or a heathen will ask, why did God create them? See, this is the attitude of the people nowadays. But as for Christians, as for the remnant, not the Christians I am talking, because we know the word remnant means. God had always, and He has always a remnant. Am I right? According to the Bible promises, according to the children of Israel's experiences, there was a residue always. Residue means what? The remnant. And what is the sign of a remnant member? Revelation 12:17, what does it say? The dragon was wrath with the woman, church, and went to make war with not her seed, but the remnant of her seed. So Christians are of two types. Those who say that they have Christ is one, that is seed. And those who are having Christ, the seed of the woman, which is the remnant, what do they do? The remnant, what do they do? They have what? They keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. Remember that. Not all are Christians. Maybe for instance somebody was telling, so you mean to say, one Roman Catholic lady was asking, do you mean to say that we are not Christians? I said, if you accept Jesus Christ as a personal Savior and get baptized, you are not a Christian. Am I right? Am I to be blamed? Huh? Tell. I am not to be blamed. What does God? Whosoever believeth in Him should not perish. That means what? God sent His Son in order to save the world, and whosoever believeth in Him should not perish. That means we have to believe in Jesus Christ. I am born in a Christian family. I am not a Christian unless I accept Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. And what is the testimony of Jesus? We know that it is the spirit of prophecy. 19th chapter of Revelation, 10th verse says, we are in the prophetic time. When I speak about the prophetic time, some brethren told me, Jesus said, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. That is enough. Don't bother about the prophets or the prophetic writings. I told them, in the book of Daniel, 12th chapter, it talks about what? This time is what time? End time. The message is for the end time. Then I asked them a question. Jesus was asked by His disciples the signs of His coming. Remember that? And these Christians know about all these signs, what is happening in the world, except one thing which Jesus said in the book of Matthew 24th chapter. If you read Matthew 24:15. We'll come across. When you shall see, remember that? A quotation is from the book of Daniel. Desolation. What do you mean by that? When I asked, nobody has the answer to that. So, don't believe the false brethren. Brethren of other faiths, don't, because they will say, try to confuse our minds with some other things of the Bible. And they will detract us from the main truth. Remember that. There will be problems we have to face because of holding to the truth. This is end time. When you have the problems in your life, little or more, we'll be discouraged. We'll be disheartened. You are going to bed in the night and you are not going to get up in the morning. We are in a peaceful land, but the morning we are not able to see. You stumble. This is what the word says here, If you stumble in safe country, when everything is okay, when everything is well in your life, you get a chest pain all on a sudden. Do you stumble? Do you stumble? Yes. Or when you just want to get up from your car or bus or from where you are seated, a sprain comes or a catch comes at the back, you are not able to get up. Do you stumble? Yes, we stumble. I remember one of my friend's brother got married and the life was going on very well, but 7 years, no children. For 7 years, no children. They were going for Bible classes and taking fasting and all those things. Finally, they got a child, a boy child, and he became 11 years old. One day his mother asked him to get one mobile recharge card from the opposite shop. And she was standing on the doorstep, waiting for his son to come because much expectations. For 7 years, the Lord gave him as their son. So she was very much fond of that boy, loving and very much careful, taking care of him. When he was coming out of the bakala, like we say in Arabic, bakala, or the shop from where they get this car. When he was coming, a car came and dashed against him, and on the spot he died in front of the mother. This is a true story. If you say that I'm lying, you can go to Bergman Travels and ask the manager. He will tell us, his brother's son. Do you stumble? The word says, if you stumble in safe country, how will you manage in the thickets by the Jordan? When the Jordan, during the time of flood, thickets are there, forests are there, wild animals are there. And what happens when the flood comes? They will be shattered. And they will create a havoc in the people, in the vicinity of the people. And that will create problems. Same way, some kind of a deluge, some kind of floods, Christian experiences come in our lives. We stumble. We will be attacked by people with the truth. Sometimes we have to confront them with the truth. And what will happen? He will be named as a heretic. As a heretic. What do you mean by heretic? If you don't